you can only watch it for the first time once. It'll be interesting to see what we catch and what we don't.
Did you ever play the video game Mass Effect?
This is where Babylon 5 is becoming Babylon 5.
That was great. I love that.
100% completely accurate, definitive ranking of Babylon 5.
I love it so much.
We're officially into it, Jeff.
The year is 2025. The name of the podcast, Babylon 5, for the second time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the second time. My name is Brent Allen.
And I'm Jeff Akin. Brent and I used to be Star Trek podcasters, but then we watched Babylon 5 for the first time and everything changed. Now we're watching this incredible series for the second time, paying attention to all the things we didn't know about the first time around.
And, we're still doing the thing where we watch for those sci-fi messages, those things that hold up a mirror to society, give us hope that things can be better in the future, maybe, or just tell us how to be better human beings to one another, among other things. We're asking, what is this episode trying to tell us now that we have time to see this in the full context of what is the Babylon 5 universe? Fair warning, from this point forward, this show will be, I promise you, hopefully, full of spoilers. We could talk about anything from any episode across any series within the Babylon 5 canon. That also includes books, extra source materials, JMS, con interviews, anything. That's all coming. So if you have yet to watch this series for the very first time, we beg you, stop. You want to experience it as it happens, the way Jeff and I did. And we have a whole podcast where you can go join us over there. So go do that, Babylon 5, for the first time. Hang out with us there and catch back up to us here for the second viewing.
For our second viewing today, we're watching Deathwalker. We're going to be looking for all the stuff that we didn't catch the first time around. I remember the first time that we watched Deathwalker, and we've learned in the couple of these that we've done for the second time that our memories aren't what they once were, at least time. Well, I think as we watched the episodes and we saw the whole series, we tempered and formed a lot of our stuff. But I remember really, really liking this episode, and specifically that Deathwalker and Natoth were total badasses.
Right.
Do you remember what you thought of this one?
I remember really liking this episode a lot. I don't think there was much I didn't like about this episode. This also, Jeff, for me, was the very first Brent Watches episode that I ever did.
That's right.
And so I was watching this with different eyes, knowing also that people were going to be watching me react to the show. So I wasn't just watching it and consuming it, but the whole journey that we as viewers go on with Deathwalker, with who she is and what she's done and what she represents, and is there any redemption that's possible for her and all this? And when we get to the moment where she unveils her plan of like, look, I've done this great thing for everyone. We're going to eternal life. Just we can do it. Oh, but in order for that to happen, we're going to steal life, and people are going to claw each other to death to get their hands on this, and they're going to kill each other just to get this thing. And she's just evil, laughing the whole way. I loved the twist on that, and the way she gets away. And then Kosh comes in that very end, which we haven't seen Kosh like really since the pilot, it feels like.
Pretty much.
And he just lays it down. It's like, no. I loved it. Unless, Jeff, you, whom I know listened to our original first episode, tell me, Brent, you are absolutely wrong. You hated this episode, because that's entirely possible. But my memory is I loved this episode.
There was a part of this episode that both of us didn't like that much, but we appreciated it because it gave us a break, like a breather. We felt like, I think at one point you said that this felt like a two-parter. There was so much that it gave to us, but at the same time, it never felt exhausting or tiring. And a lot of it was because of the Kosh and Talia and Abbott storyline. You mentioned Kosh.
Yeah.
We had a lot of thoughts on him that we shared. One of them was that because we hadn't seen him, I was like, why is this dude even here? Like, it serves no purpose whatsoever. I didn't understand why he was on the station. And I went so far as to be like, I don't even understand why he's on the show at all.
Right.
What's the deal with this guy? You said that the Vorlons and the Minbari are like the older ones who are like helping out and sticking around for the younger races.
Okay.
Pretty good. And maybe they're kind of like the police of the galaxy who make sure we don't, bite off more than we can chew. And that's why Kosh came out to lay it down.
But I lumped the Minbari into that.
You did. You figured they were both like the two like old races.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like that. Like the Minbari, while not a first one and not the ancient races, they are certainly sort of, at least supposedly, the elder statesmen of the current races, yeah?
You would think they're like the 47th ones, but they're probably closer to the 42nd ones.
Right.
It's a lot of nerd in that one. Let's get into it then. Let's go watch Deathwalker right now for the second time. If you're joining us for the first time and you're on YouTube, you're about to see the reaction, the cut-up reaction that goes to YouTube. If you want to see the full and unedited version of this thing, head over to our Patreon page. There's a link down below, or patreon.com/Babylon5 first. That's the number 5 and the word first.
And if you're listening to us on an audio podcasting app, listen, Jeff and I will catch up with you on the other side, but actually hang on, because you're going to catch our reactions to this episode as well. But stick around, because we are going to share some extra thoughts and talk about these new messages that we uncover. So Jeff, let's go watch an episode.
Let's do it.
Ambassador Kosh, is there something I can do for you?
I wish to engage your services.
For what?
He was a lot more verbose back here.
What sort of business?
We will meet in Red 3 at the hour of scampering.
The hour of scampering, Jeff.
Yeah.
What is that?
So, I hate that line so much.
Uh-huh.
Oh, look how different and mystical and stuff we are. And it never becomes a thing. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I get it. Not everyone tells time the same. Fine. You've earthed up everything else. Now, if he came back at some point and was like, oh, I said the hour of scampering, not the hour of nibbling or something like that. Cool. This is what we drop and walk away. Oh, look how different I am from everything else you see.
So JMS has an answer.
Oh, okay. Here's one of the things.
Here's a legit answer. The hour of scampering is usually about tea time, according to the Vorlon Human Translation Dictionary.
Okay.
That's all it is. It's tea time, 4:00.
I said tea time is just as worthless of a time keeping measure for me as scampering. I have no idea what that is. Oh, this is such a great scene.
Liner Callisto will be docking in Bay 12 in 7 minutes.
All passengers holding berths on that flight.
She's so put out. She's so
7 minutes. God.
Is this where we talk about the thing about people who can just beat the hell out of folks?
Oh,
Like,
no, she gets called on the carpet for it. Dude, she didn't let her fall down. She held on to her. Grab the wrench. Oh, fuck. Duh. I've sworn a blood oath.
I like that Minbari just standing there like
what? Maybe one of the greatest cold opens in Babylon 5.
You know what? You're not wrong about that. That's possible. That really could be true.
Kept yelling, Deathwalker.
Deathwalker.
I thought you might remember that name. I know I do.
Yeah, I like this because we get the whole Dilgar War thing. We start learning about how humanity showed up.
Why did you attack that woman?
Listen, sister, if she dies, you'll rot in a cage until your spots
Sister.
turn gray.
That's off.
Till your spots
to help
turn
you, but you
gray.
have to
Oh
tell
my
us
god.
what.
It is Shankar, the blood oath.
Blood oath.
Yep.
When the
It is a blood oath.
Uh-huh.
My grandfather and his family were there. Deathwalker used them in her experiments, except my grandfather, who managed to escape back to Nod.
I think this was about the point where because when she said she is Deathwalker, I thought that was like she is a Deathwalker.
Like it was a type of person, a race, or something like that.
Yeah, just without the word a there. Like she is Deathwalker. She is Soul Hunter. She is, whatever that is. But to actually come to know, no, actually it's a specific person, like the butcher of Barbacoa. I don't know whatever his name is.
When what about this? The first time you asked the question, "Hey Jeff, when did you realize that Deathwalker was her and not the people?" And I said, literally when they told us that it was her name. I thought the same thing.
Right. Oh yeah. Like, is Deathwalker just another name for Dilgar? And it's really the whole of the people. That could be.
The Dilgar invasion was 30 Earth years ago. If Deathwalker was alive today, she'd be an old woman.
Her face is carved into the minds of my entire brood. I smell my grandfather's blood on her hands. I tell you, it is she.
Her brood. Her entire brood, Jeff.
Right. Everything there is to know about her.
You and me both.
All the clearances seem to be in order, and the pay is very generous. However, there's something I still don't understand.
Understanding is a three-edged sword.
Oh, gosh.
Understanding is a three-edged sword, Jeff.
Yeah.
Now, what does this mean to you?
There's your side, your edge, their edge, and like probably the real edge.
Now, where did you get that from?
Rashomon? Like,
I don't know what that means.
It's a Japanese movie about a rape and a murder, and it's told from the point of view of 4 different people, and it's very different.
Yeah.
Even though it's like objective facts.
So I think I've always known that this is the idea. It's a three-edged sword. Well, because first of all, 3 is an important number in the series, right? Understanding is a three-edged sword. But this is also something that I know people said in the comments a ton. And the way they would word it is they would say, understanding is a three-edged sword. There's your side, there's my side, and there's the truth in between, right?
Metabolism is astounding. It's repairing the damage at an extremely accelerated rate. I wish I knew what her species was. I've never seen anything like her. Her DNA doesn't match anything we've got on file.
She's a Dilgar.
Dilgar? Dilgar is a dead race. Those few that were left after the invasion died when their sun went nova.
Computer, load history file, EA 2230, reference Deathwalker.
Commencing.
He had some stank when he said Dilgar. He's a Dilgar.
Midcorps send me all their files on the Dilgar. There has to be a way to make a positive
Ben,
identification.
Council Chambers chat.
Commander.
Dilgar? I hardly know Gar.
A Dilgar uniform. Post a full detail here until she could be moved to a maximum security area, and keep a tight lid on this, Michael. Until we figure out what's going on, I don't want any rumors running around this station.
I'm sorry to bring you shame,
What do you think about that,
Ambassador,
Jeff?
but I must fulfill my Shankar.
Keep all this secret. We don't want rumors running around.
Yeah, I think right now it's a really good idea.
With the nearness of your prey. I too have
Too many questions.
many of them. But unhappily in this case, yours complicates matters.
Should be great if one of his Shankars showed up.
Consular Harrock, the Narn you were to meet in customs, was here to bargain with Jadur. The Kari says we must get her to Narn alive.
I will not be denied this.
We must make this sacrifice for the future of
You
our
must
people.
make this sacrifice.
All Narn have sacrificed at one
all
time.
Narn.
or
You
another.
must make this sacrifice for the future of our people, as all Narns have sacrificed at one time or another.
So if we take that and lay it against Dust to Dust, when Kosh Jaquan tells him, you have to, like, there will be great sacrifice for the universe, right? I think that's the thing, is here his thinking is for the Narn. That moves him to the universe.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
I like
This is tremendous development for Jakar. Just, just in the last couple of weeks we've seen him now, it's like, oh, okay, this is...
Well, he's not just, mustache twirling villain,
Like, I can actually see some of the seeds for, like, his piety being laid
lay the
down
Shankar.
right now.
But
right?
I will not abandon it.
And when we get what we want from this butcher, I promise to help you fulfill your vow.
I like that also. We gotta do the stuff we gotta do for the Narn, and you're right. You're gonna do what you gotta do too.
My research, a universal anti-agapic.
I'm not familiar with the
Me
term.
either.
It's a serum which retards the aging process and prevents disease. It's still unstable and difficult to produce in sufficient quantity.
I really
but
like
it
the
works,
makeup.
as you can
Very
see.
alien.
No fear of growing old. No sickness. That's...
Virtual immortality, the ultimate triumph of life. The secret is mine, Sinclair. And with the help of your Earth, I will bring it to all the worlds of this galaxy before the year is
So
out.
at this point, you get the feeling that this is someone who probably has committed war crimes, but mostly on like think of the scientific knowledge and advancement that came at the absolute horrible atrocity of concentration camps. in Nazi Germany.
This is the
right?
exact conversation we had the first time.
Is it
Mengele and all the stuff that all the experimentation that came and the thought behind like, does saving all of these lives and stuff over here justify the horrible? And the answer is no. But in this, like, this is the question being posed to us right now, or being set up for us.
Right. Which we had an episode of Voyager that dealt very specifically with this as well. So, but here's the thing, like, so she did this, but she gets this thing that could be very, very useful. Like, you know, like with Bester, we always talk about where he's the hero of his own story, right? She's the hero of her own story. Like she's doing this for good, not for destructive purposes, even though the way she went about it was incredibly destructive. That's where we're sitting right now. Now, you and I know the end of the story, but that's where we're sitting right now. And just, this is a masterful way this episode is written by JMS. Like, I don't know if I want to say this is his first master stroke as a writer in Babylon 5, but it might be the first time that I was like, yes, like front to back, the way this story is constructed, the way this character is constructed, this is just perfection. So, and Nia says JMS didn't write this episode, which is fair, but JMS would have given this episode the treatment, right? I think so.
Yeah,
maybe
something.
Yeah,
probably.
All right, well, whatever. JMS did everything here. He did no help whatsoever.
Just means
this was Larry DiTillio. Okay, JMS and Larry DiTillio were effectively of one mind since their days on He-Man. So
that's why there was total brilliance out of all the DiTillio episodes in the first season. All of them.
He was just a little further down the line than JMS. So, I mean, that age-wise, not necessarily.
Yeah. I like the way you can see the challenge in Sinclair's face. Like, oh my God.
Does Saturn have rings?
Mr. Abbott, can you tell me what these negotiations are all about?
I could, but it's not good to reflect too much.
Did he just do that on purpose?
A problem?
No. I'm just tired. I think I'll go back to my quarters.
Because it's his job
Rest
to
is
get the
good.
imprint.
And so is a nice lean pastrami with just a little mustard and an
I don't
Antarean
disagree.
pickle.
Yeah?
Maybe another time?
I would have a pastrami sandwich with that guy if he was buying it.
Mr. Lanier, the Toth said the woman she attacked is Deathwalker. The woman
He looks
claims
so
she's
young.
right.
He does.
She also says it was the Wind Swords who sheltered her after the invasion.
They are the most militant of all our warrior castes, but even they wouldn't harbor such a...
So that's why she has a
It's possible she
Minbari
was of
passport
service to
and
them.
stuff.
Could you check with your government, see what they know?
I cannot speak directly to the council without permission, but I will contact Alen.
Thank you.
Man, they had such a cool relationship. I mean, imagine where this was supposed to
And
go
in the
later.
name of the Narn regime, I extend our sincerest apologies for the attack on you. We are fully prepared to make whatever reparations you deem necessary and make you a most handsome offer.
For what?
Your discovery, of course, the anti-agapic. Whatever Earth Alliance has promised you, we will triple.
Grant me one more thing, and I'll consider it.
Name it.
The head of the animal that attacked me. Within the hour.
And she's still evil. Like, she's still...
Yeah.
But she also kind of has, like, she's a little bit justified on that, right? And she knows he's not going to do it.
Exactly.
Based on the data I got from Earth, she is Jadur.
It's just funny when you think about, like, she just said that laugh after no one was in the room with
An
her.
immortality serum.
She wiped out entire races, destroyed whole planets, experimented on living beings. Now she wants to make everybody immortal?
Garibaldi, the voice of reason.
Maybe she's got a conscience.
Unlikely.
Ivanova's right. This one's too big for us. I want Jadur's ship recharged and a fighter escort ready.
Yeah, it's like you've got it.
We'll take her through Blue 5 to avoid any attention.
Right.
Horrible means, you don't even know all the means that got it there, but Garibaldi laid a lot of stuff out. But here it is. What do you do?
Whatever Jadur's peddling doesn't change what she is.
I know, damn it. But if Dr. Franklin's right, her discovery will bring a future free of disease, aging, death, all across the galaxy. She can save more lives than she took, and she can make the deaths she caused have meaning. Isn't that worth considering?
Oh, man, that's filthy.
Better pray to that god of yours. You're right, Jeff.
You know, I remember this being the question that Star Trek posed in its Voyager episode. Is it right to use research and knowledge gained from such absolutely horrible and despicable means? And on the one hand, no, it's not. On the other hand, by not doing so, then why did all those people die in the first place?
Yeah.
Like,
And
don't
here
you
is
kinda-
this thing, you know, and
Yeah.
an interesting way to look at it that I was kind of thinking about, because Garibaldi's argument was, how can you, you know, reward her, even if she's done this thing. What if she was gone, right? Out of the picture. And I think even in Voyager, dude was still a concern. Here's the research. Here's the notes. It's going to take you some time to figure it all out, but here it all is. That person's not being rewarded. Like, does that change the situation here if it's not J'ador bringing the thing forward? This person did these horrible atrocities, and it's awful, and they're gone. And we have this. I like the way Sinclair is playing it. You know, like he's in this moral. He's where we are right now, except he has to actually make a call.
Yeah.
And Earth has told him what to do.
Yeah.
Like in a real way, he's a commander. He has no business being involved in something at this level. And so, I mean, really, he's just supposed to be the messenger and make sure the thing happens. But
I didn't write it down, but JMS talked about that in the Lurker's Guide. About, I guess people were like, well, he could have said no, or he could have done, or, you know, Earth could have, maybe they didn't know how bad this person really was. And he's like, yeah, you're assuming that, like, and again, this is JMS poking at the Star Trek thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're assuming that, like in Star Trek, where everybody is supposed to be good and do good stuff, and that's not the way it is in the real world, and that's not the way it is in our world. People are dumb and stupid, and they serve their own needs, and Sinclair doesn't really have the luxury of having his own opinion on this one. He has to follow orders that have been given to him, regardless of what he thinks of them. And that's what we're doing here.
He can go through the moral exercise and talk it through and try and find a shred of something to rest on, you know, so he can sleep at night knowing this happened. But ultimately, he could say no and not have a job anymore and be locked up. And, you know, and there's an argument there too. Like, is that the right thing to do? If I'm G'Kar and I talk about the sacrifices we have to make, was that the right sacrifice for Sinclair to make to stop this thing? I mean, you could ask a lot coming at this from a lot of angles. Sucks to be heavy weighs the head that wears the crown.
Yeah.
One of our agents has just informed me that Sinclair is going to smuggle J'ador off the station.
What?
Blast him and that infernal female!
She is near. I can smell her. Free me from this cage and I'll deal with her.
Not yet. There is a better way. Ambassador G'Kar to speak to Ambassador Calinicus on a most urgent matter.
One moment.
He's like, I'm just going to tattle. Let it all come out.
I am the last of the Dilgar. My discovery will ensure that the galaxy remembers us with honor. It'll be a monument to our vision.
A monument? That's what you're after?
Delicious irony, don't you think? That those who cursed us will have to thank us for the rest of time.
See, so far,
Time to go.
so far right now, I'm kind of with her. And I even enjoy the little bit of irony that she's talking about there. Like, but like, I'm kind of on her side here so far, right?
I can see where she's coming from.
Yeah.
There's definitely a line of thinking. And we don't, this is us not having all the information at this point, just knowing what's been revealed so far.
And she definitely seems evil, but also reasonable in some, you know what I mean?
There's a sense, there's a string of logic that makes sense to her.
Yeah. And also, hey, listen, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna do this thing. I'm still gonna give this stuff to people. You know, we're gonna be it's redemption, Jeff. That's what it is. It's
Commander
redemption for her
Sinclair.
race.
That woman is the war criminal J'ador.
Orders I cannot disobey.
You will have to kill us all first.
That's Robin Curtis, Jeff.
It is. He's like, well, I have someone back here.
Very well. We'll
probably
convene in
happy to
3
kill
hours.
all of you.
The door will be held in maximum security until then.
Yeah, that was another big point coming up that we talked about
What
pretty
was it?
extensively. The League's response.
Before we get there, this is another one of those, I wish I would have known the context in which this question was being asked to JMS, but talking about this specific scene. He says, you assume the crowd meeting Sinclair could have been placated.
Oh.
They could not have been.
No.
There was, like, maybe they're talking about how he easily gave in to them. Like, he's got these orders, he's supposed to go do his orders, and he gave in, like, straight away, right? Like, it didn't seem like it took much. Said they make it clear in the dialogue, you will have to kill all of us. They could not be placated. And then it goes on. Maybe in the Star Trek universe, Picard could turn on the charm and just talk people out of things, but that doesn't happen here. Not easily at any rate. It was turn back or kill them. Those were Sinclair's choices here. Turn back and do what he did, or he'll have to mow them all down and get through. Like, that was his assessment. He made the right call.
And I would go so far as to say if this was Picard, he would have done the exact same thing. But in the 3 hours that it took to convene, he'd construct the argument that then would be compelling and everyone would be like, oh, yeah. So moved by what you're saying. This is where we call this the anti-Star Trek, because that is not what happens.
Yeah.
Jeff, all the ambassadors are here in the
You know,
chambers.
if he's been given instructions for how to vote, doesn't that negate any need for debate and discussion? Like, if he's not allowed to actually make his best decision based on evidence at hand, like, God, those chairs look uncomfortable.
Right. It's pretty genius, though. It keeps the sessions from going too long. Right. If you want to bloviate, you have to stand up.
Now the winds of fate have delivered her into our hands.
Actually, the wind swords.
We of the League have unanimously decided that J'dur be tried for her crimes against sentience. That trial to be held
Crimes
here
against
on Babylon 5 as
sentience.
soon as
like
possible.
that.
Not humanity.
We now ask that the advisory
Sentience.
council approve this decision.
Because she has committed no crime against our republic, I must reluctantly vote no.
Treachery!
The non-regime is noted for its keen sense of justice. Therefore, we vote yes. On one condition, that the trial be held on Narn. Our neutrality during the invasion assures fairness.
Their proposal is unacceptable.
In that case, the non-regime also votes no.
Again, masterful. Happy to do the right thing. It's up to you.
Ambassador Kosh has declined to take part in these proceedings. On behalf of Earth Alliance, I vote yes.
As the Minbari were not a part of this conflict, we have no right to judge her. We must therefore vote no.
Almost makes you uniquely qualified to judge her.
I highly disagree with that thought process.
Yeah?
One abstention. I'm afraid we must
Just
find
because
some
you
other
weren't involved in it doesn't mean that you can't
Oh, yeah.
Commander Sinclair,
look at
you
what's
have
going
always
on.
said that our worlds have a voice here.
I think that it makes them more qualified to do so.
Yeah.
Everyone else has a dog in the fight. They can't be unbiased.
Right.
Minbari are the only ones that really could.
Will you now deny us this voice? And rest assured you have not heard the last
This
of
right
it.
here is the death of democracy. We demand to have a voice. We demand to be heard. You were.
Yeah.
You had a voice. You were heard, and there was another voice that was heard that had more votes than you. Also, it's quite a reflection on humanity.
Well, okay. I mean, so pause it for me. So the one thing I will say, you know, the crazy thing about democracy, especially republic democracy, where you have representatives, right, is you have to accept the results of the election, even if it doesn't go your way, even if that election or that result is to destroy democracy.
Oh, okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Even if the people or the representatives or whatever are the ones who are if they legitimately, and I say that word, legitimately vote, and this is how the votes come out, that's like democracy can democratically destroy itself.
Absolutely. And is here on Babylon 5 and here.
I'm not going to say I'm not going to get involved in that.
I'm just saying
conversation here, but yeah, you and I are on the same mind, brother.
Being very global. I'm being very global in this statement.
Sure.
But Ben in the chat grabs that and takes it a step further. I want to grab because he's right. In season 5, I complained about how the League or the Alliance had so little say in everything, and they only got one combined vote. I rail on that now. I'm not saying that them having only one vote is right. I'm not saying their voice is as strong as it should be. What I'm saying is in the construct and the paradigm they're operating in, this is their voice. Just like it was with the Alliance. I was saying it wasn't fair back then. I'm saying it's not fair now. But at no point would I ever advocate for walk away.
Yeah.
Right. And it would make, I don't know. It just doesn't make.
And I mean, look, Jakar's vote was completely bogus.
Yeah.
I kind of understand the Centauri. I think the Minbari's vote while it was also bogus. That doesn't mean that their votes weren't legitimately cast to be what they were.
They are the votes.
Those were the votes as they were.
There's intent and there's outcome. And with the outcome, the intent doesn't matter so much. Unless you have a, good relationship and you can actually be like, hey, we didn't hit the mark you were going for. Let's talk about this and problem solve it and do it again. Oh, you're right. Yeah, we're trying to do this. It's not the case here at all.
In the name of the Drowsy Freehold, I demand immediate extradition of the war criminal jal'Zha. Reject this demand, and we will attack immediately.
And this is before all the weapons upgrades on the station.
Dude, he just threatened Ivanova.
That's
I'm just throwing that out there. He just threatened Ivanova.
At the moment, we do not put much faith in Babylon 5 diplomacy. I fear we will soon be severing our ties with this place.
There's something you should know before making that decision.
The mistake with these ships is the little, like, flashy, shiny things. They look great, except for that.
Right.
What's the
Parents
situation?
went away.
Oh, no, weeks.
Well, I've managed to get the ship
I
captain.
cannot do it.
Debate
I
over who
cannot
has the
do it.
best claim to jal'Zha. The winner will be the first to attack.
Creative. Let's hope it buys us enough time.
Lieutenant Commander, the League ships are moving out of firing range.
What did you do?
I played a wild card, but we're not out of this yet. Stay on alert. I'll be in closed session with the League.
Yes, sir.
Theme song in the background.
Good job, Lieutenant Commander.
Good
I like
job
how
on Sinclair. Like,
I like how it crescendos on Ivanova.
right.
A stroke of the brush does not guarantee art from the bristles. You understand.
I understand that your check cleared, so yeah.
Right.
It's like, whoa, I was not expecting that.
Not the best editing acting thing
Our
I've seen there.
business is concluded.
You were swell. Maybe we can have that Jovian sunspot sometime. Kosh, old boy, a pleasure as always.
He's got a little R2D2 arm there.
Let's do lunch soon. Miss Winters.
I like the single palm leaf
What is
thing.
And what
Right.
was on that data crystal
Just,
he gave
oh,
you?
there's one little planet.
Reflection, surprise, terror for the future.
Terra.
Earth is prepared to develop jal'Zha's discovery immediately. I propose the League of Worlds choose a coalition of scientists to assist her. When this coalition is satisfied, the serum is ready. jal'Zha will be turned over to the League for trial.
It's pretty reasonable. Because again, they still don't know what it takes to make the serum.
Those two guys aren't getting paid to speak.
Can we trust your alliance will honor this agreement?
And
Oh, what of maybe the he is, Council? Okay.
When news of this is made public, Earth Alliance will have no choice. As for the Council, it's already made its decision. This agreement is between Earth and the League, just as it was 30 years ago when we helped you to defeat this
well
woman.
played.
It is fair and wise.
So now the argument could be made that them playing what the card that they had. Okay, I'm gonna talk this through. I live in a state that has been classified as a blue state because we have to put everything in a very generalized label these days. But what that means for us is we definitely have a controlling party in our state legislature. The minority party, oftentimes if they want to block legislation, has one tool in their toolbox, and that is to deny a quorum, just not show up. And it's actually against the law, and it becomes a whole thing. It's a show, right? We're going to release the state police to find you, and they're hiding whatever and whatever. But it's the only tool they have in their arsenal, in their toolbox. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's just ugly and delays the inevitable. But for them, they can stand up and say, I fought against this thing, and their constituency is happy. Maybe that's what the League was doing here. Their only tool in their toolbox was to walk out. Threaten to, we're going to leave. We're going to leave Babylon 5 and this whole thing. Because without that move, Sinclair never would have looked for this compromise.
Right.
Maybe it actually worked out. What did work out, but like maybe it was smarter than I thought.
The key ingredient in the anti-agapic cannot be synthesized. It must be taken from living beings. For one to live forever, another one must die. It will make what we did pale by comparison. The billions who live forever will be a testimony to my work, and the billions who are murdered to buy that immortality will be the continuance of my work. Not like us, you will become us. That's my monument, Commander.
Get her the hell off my station.
Dude, that.
Minbari Flyer 969 is now leaving the docking center.
Oh, hi everybody. Didn't expect you all to be
Gosh.
here.
What's this little green thing on his neck?
You had a lot of questions about his suit when we watched it the first time.
Stand by to activate the...
Lieutenant
Commander,
Yeah.
something's coming through
Like
the
how to let kids
What is
see
it?
this thing?
It's a Vorlon ship.
Kablooey.
Well, all's well that ends well.
Londo's loving this, man.
Why?
He's like, whew.
You are not ready for immortality.
And the fact he just turns around and dips right after that is,
We find a reason to keep Jal'Zha alive, and the Vorlons smoke her for the same reason.
You think it'll always be like this, Michael? Little powers at the mercy of bigger powers, politics
Yeah.
before morality, expediency
Yes.
before justice.
Seems to work for everybody, except you. Maybe that's why I like you.
The Vorlons are leery of telepaths. If Kosh knows what you fear the most, he can use it against you in the future.
For what?
With the Vorlons, who knows?
they're leery of telepaths.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They created the telepaths.
They're probably leery in the whole, like, stay away. Don't return to the scene of the crime. Respectful distance. I can see, though, why you watched this and were like, this is the biggest deal in the series. The way they leave it here.
Maybe so. But he's a con man compared to the Vorlon.
Oh, Michael.
Con man compared to the Vorlon.
All right, Brent. We just watched Deathwalker for the second time. What stood out for you?
Gosh, I love this episode.
I know.
It's so good. It's so good. In a season 1 run of episodes, War Prayer was phenomenal. Listen, Midnight on Fire Line wasn't bad.
It was great.
Yeah.
For episode 1? Wow.
Born to the Purple, I just had a lot of fun with, but War Prayer, I think, just for really what it meant, what it did. This one it's just a perfectly constructed story all the way around. And I feel right now I'm feeling everything that I said I remember feeling about this episode. I'm just doubling down on every single one of them. Like, yep, that's right. That's right. That's exactly what I felt. This episode, I'll tell you something I noticed about this episode that I clearly, of course, couldn't have picked up on the first time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of threads that are kind of jump started in this particular episode, most of which will never come to fruition because certain characters, more than one, leave the series.
Mm-hmm.
But we get Sinclair coming up with his groovy answers to everything and how he sees, works around stuff. We've got EarthGov being EarthGov. We dive in. This might be our first real look at how the council with the League works.
Yep.
In this episode, we got it's not just world building, we're seeing the world working.
I like that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And while I don't love everything that happened, I can't say that it didn't feel unreal. It all felt reasonable. Like, yeah, that's probably how that would happen in real life. Even if I didn't want it to happen like that, that's kind of how that would go. So, I can't say that I found a lot of new stuff going through it this time. I don't know that I went, oh, he said this. Oh, I take that back. There was one thing when G'Kar said, we must all sacrifice, or we must sacrifice as all Narn have sacrificed. And you, my friend, made the great comparison to Dust when Jaquan tells him that you must sacrifice not for Narn, but for the entire galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And that just I think opens up Narn culture. Like that's a fascinating thing to think of as a culture. So
it's just embedded in what they do. We never see that though. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean?
We see G'Kar step up and sacrifice himself, but so many other Narn that we see are either aggressive, they're argumentative, they're not.
Well, we do see Natoth.
Yeah, we do.
But we see her sacrifice, particularly when we catch up to her in prison so many years later.
True.
Right? Rifa was taken out by all this.
Well, we say Talon, right? Talon. I mean, there's definitely the standouts, that are there, but I think the Narn.
But those are the only real ones that we knew. I mean, am I wrong on this? We knew 3 Narn relatively well in this whole series.
Well, yeah, there was a Falon or something like that at one point, and
We knew Talon, we knew Natoth, we knew Jakar.
There's a War Master
really...
at some point that we see or something like that.
But
yeah.
But no, I'm not saying ones that we saw. I mean, I'm talking about ones we got to know.
Yeah. Talon, Natoth, Jakar.
Yeah. And we really didn't get too much of Natoth.
No.
So
not enough, that's for sure.
Not good Natoth anyway.
Yeah.
Jeff, how about you? What'd you pick up on this watch through?
You know, a really similar place. I think some of my views from the first time were evolved a little bit, especially around the league. But I think that the two things that I saw in this one that really stood out to me were how brilliantly the episode unfolded. And we talked about that while we were watching it, but literally up until the last 4 minutes of the episode, you're like, I mean, she's kind of got a point, you know? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. And then she just gives that peak villain monologue.
Bone chilling.
Yeah, just like, what the
And you know what was great about that monologue was it wasn't cheesy villain.
Right.
It was real like, oh my God.
Yeah, she's like, I win. I win.
It doesn't matter if I die because you guys are going to continue my work. You're going to do it.
You're going to be my work.
Yeah.
You will worship and thank me for all of this. And just her indictment of humanity of you will eat each other up like wolves chasing this thing. And I think a thing I didn't really put together before, but it just makes sense. But it's a 1-for-1. It sounds like it's a 1-for-1 thing. For me to live forever, you have to die. Oh my God, like how sick is that? And it's been brought up a handful of times. Becky and a few others have brought it up in our Council Chambers chat over here. But one of the messages here that we didn't pick up before was this. We asked the question, I do horrible things in the name of research or whatever, and I have this discovery. Guess what? It usually doesn't actually work. Or it's not as great and amazing as you think it is. It's not the miracle cure. Sinclair was like, this is cure disease. All these things will be great. Yes, and like there's always an and or a but when it's like evil research that leads to the thing. But the other piece I pulled out of this one, it's not important, but it's just interesting. Kosh is so conversational.
Yeah.
In this, like outside of saying a couple weird things about scampering and lingering or longing and swords and whatever, other than that, he's like
swords.
But he's like, do you understand? No, we have a contract. He's having conversations with Talia. It was unnerving to hear, I think, for me at least. We already talked some about the messages. Were there any other new messages or anything that stood out for you in this one that we didn't already talk about?
So Jeff, this is from JMS over on the Lurkers Guide. I wanted to save this for this part here. He says this, his own message, I guess, or the message of Larry DiTilio, I guess. Our capacity for greatness. Okay, think about this. Our capacity for greatness is as substantial as our capacity for evil.
Oh.
We must constantly be reminded of that duality. To pretend it isn't there or is somebody else's problem inevitably leads to tragedy. Wow.
That's big.
You know, I had a pastor of mine that always used to say these words. He would say, I know my own capacity for sin. And unfortunately, this guy got caught up in stuff and it became very public.
Yeah.
And, you know, and yeah, just, you know, and he's like, I know my own capacity. I know but this idea, like we've got to know our own capacity for sin. Our capacity for greatness is just as substantial as our capacity for evil. I actually find some hope in that though, Jeff.
Right? Because we've seen some huge evil.
We know exactly how evil are. We can also be great.
Exactly.
We can also be great. Like we have that ability to be that great. You know, we talk about it and we always, you know, there's always the comparisons of Star Trek and, you know, he talks, well, you know, you should be able to talk people out and turn on the charm and you just assume that people are there for good. And like, yeah, because that's where we should be.
Yeah, it's the goal.
And that's what Star Trek always was to show us how we could be, the idea that we can get there, right? Not necessarily just showing us how we are, but like we can be there. We can be better. Give us that hope, right? Yes, we have a great capacity for evil, but you know what? There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of promise. I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. I believe, and I believe this with the bottom of my heart, and I'm talking about in real life, humanity is the hope of the galaxy.
Yeah.
If anything's going to happen with this galaxy out there, it's going to be because humanity is involved with it, you know? And there's some people that don't believe that. They're really low on humanity, and fine. I'm not one of those people.
We have a ton of science fiction that tells us that we will be. And to your point, shows us how we can be.
Absolutely. We have such a capacity for greatness. But with that, to the thing you always talk about, the great power. With great power comes great responsibility, because the thing we talked about earlier about democracy, the idea is democracy can actually vote itself into extinction.
Mm-hmm.
That's the great irony about democracy, right? Like, that's the craziest thing in the world, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I pick up on this one. How about you? You catch anything else?
Just a little bit. I just talked about, I think, yeah, this is a good episode that, again, like we talked about the first time, didn't answer anything. It just held it up for us. And I think it held it up for us in a really thought-provoking, entertaining way.
Yeah.
We talked about our capacity for greatness when you're talking about the messages, though. It makes me curious what the capacity for greatness of this episode is. Brent, this week you are ranking it. You're plugging it into our definitive and objectively correct ranking of the episodes of season 1 of Babylon 5, our current top 5. Top spot, we got the War Prayer. Number 2, last week's episode, In the Sky Full of Stars, and the Parliament of Dreams. Born to the Purple, Midnight on the Firing Line. Brent, is this Midnight on the Firing Line's final week in the top 5? Where's Deathwalker going? Yeah?
Jeff, I don't remember where we slotted this one, because we discovered last week we didn't actually do our ranking until we got all the way to the end of the season.
Correct, yeah.
So we weren't doing these along the way.
I'm going to pull it up, see where we had it.
You want to see where we had it? I'm really curious to know where we had it at the end of the season, because I'm going to tell you where I'm going to put this one right now. Listen, I think there's a lot of great episodes. We've had some really, really good, strong episodes, these first 9 episodes, right? I'm a big fan of the War Prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I couldn't even remember what that episode was about. I just remember liking, but that episode, now I know, now I got it. It's a great episode. And not just because of who wrote it. It's just a good episode.
It just is, yeah.
This episode, though, is a step above that, I think.
Yeah?
From not just from the episode we got, but when I'm looking at this from story structure, from how it's crafted, God, Sarah Douglas and Robin Curtis both just acting their asses off. Like when Sarah Douglas turns around and she's got that look on her face of I've won. And she knows it. Like, I'm going to die. I don't care, because this is me winning forever. And the way she smiles, she's like, you're going to tear yourselves apart. Searching for immortality. Oh my goodness. And Robin Curtis, she is going to lead the revolt. Like, it's so good. And this is great Jeffrey Sinclair. This is great Michael O'Hare right here. It really is. For as dry as we talk about him being at some points, he is great in this particular,
fantastic
in this deal. Honestly, who was probably the weakest actor of the whole group today? Jerry Doyle as Garibaldi.
And he was great.
He was good, but he was also just kind of there, but he wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe Mira, and she wasn't even in the episode. Let's go with that. That was the only reason why she was bad, because she wasn't there. So to me, Jeff, on quality all the way around, this is our new number 1.
So when we ranked these at the end of the season, if we had ranked this in time, it's because this ended. Well, if we had ranked it in time, it would be our number 1 right now as well. At the end, it was our number 2 episode on the whole season.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Good. And wow.
It went Babylon Squared, Deathwalker, the War Prayer. It's our top 3.
That's solid. Yeah. That is real solid. I don't know that we're going to be much changed off of that, Jeff, come this time. You know what that just shows, Jeff? That our rankings are 100% completely accurate, definitive, and immutable.
Immutable. They cannot be muted.
Mutated.
Well, that's going to do it for Deathwalker. Next week, we're watching, buckle up, we're watching Believers next week. Do you remember what you predicted the Believers was going to be about?
Man, I had such a pinpointed prediction on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said my exact words were, man, this has to be like something religious. That's my prediction. This is religion. Religion's making a thing. And then I said, or it could be political, like, you know, do you really believe in what you say you believe in, political, like Earth First or whatever, but probably religious. It's just religion. Religion makes its way onto Babylon 5, which, I mean, we've had those discussions about various religious things before, so certainly a plausible topic that could be tackled in this series.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, we know what happens next week, and certainly there was religion in the whole thing. How about you, Jeff? What do you remember?
I cut just about as specific a swath as you did.
Yeah.
I said, and I quote, cultists of some kind.
You're not. Well, I don't know. Would that family be considered cultists?
I don't think so.
They would be.
They
Certainly
were
not if they're mainstream within their world.
Exactly. Like, I think they were pretty dead on. We're going to find out though next week. So we watch Believers. We're both looking at the same thing right now, aren't we?
Uh-huh.
Yep. See what happens. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's so great to have you here. I want to give a special shout out to our council chambers. If you go to our Patreon, it's down in the show notes below. You get to join us when we do our recordings, and we talked with you a little bit, and we bring some of your stuff into the show. Some great points made by our council chambers members this week, as there are every week. So thank you for being here. If you didn't have a chance to join us during the actual live recording of this and you're watching it or listening to it now, thank you. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Like, comment, leave a review. If you go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, and you leave that review, like, it doesn't help us in like whatever way, like rankings or whatever, but what it does do is tell people, oh, this is actually a show worth checking out. So totally worth it. But the thing you can do that's actually a true game changer and makes a big difference for us is to share this show. Someone who already loves Babylon 5, actually for Babylon 5 for the second time, they need to have watched it, but you can share Babylon 5 for the first time with someone as well, and that'd be fantastic. So until next time.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, Brent. Hey, what's up?
So when Kosh and the Vorlon ship showed up through the jump gate there, and they blew up her ship,
mm-hmm.
Did you notice a little thing flying off to the side?
A little piece of that went out?
Yeah. You know, that was actually her. She made it.
She did, really?
Yeah. And what? So they just, that was just an effect for everybody watching. But the Vorlon actually did something with Deathwalker.
What'd they do?
They imprisoned her. Okay. In the Phantom Zone.
I mean, we're not some deep space franchise. This station is about something.
That's good.
That's a Superman reference, folks.
Yeah. And that was right off the cuff one for you, too. That was great.